Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
This is Grace-Allison. Today I have with us author Kimberley Dewberry. Kimberley struggled for 25 years to cope with an addicted parent. Kimberley knows firsthand how the serenity and peace of God's redemption are keys to personal wholeness. She offers solid biblical truths to help transform anyone into the grace of a loving Heavenly Father. Let's welcome Kimberley and her book, 3 Weeks to Forgiveness.
Hi.
Hi, Kimberley. So, what was your motivation to carve out this book during your busy time?
Oh, my goodness. Well, it was actually, it came organically through my journaling. I had lost my father, and I was going through a very difficult grieving process. My dad was an alcoholic and a prescription drug abuser, and I had not seen him in about 5 years. And then he suddenly showed back up in my life again, and only 3 weeks after that, he passed away from cancer. And so I was grappling with a lot of grief, and through my journaling, I was able to let go of so much of that. And, it was really the Lord prompting me through my journals to write a book that would help other people like me. Through my grief, I thought that I was the only one who was feeling the way I was feeling. And, I couldn't figure out why I repeated so many patterns and made so many horrible choices. I just did a lot of reflection during that grief, and it was in that that God showed up and said, you know what, I'm going to use you. And I thought, I don't think so. I'm not the person to be used to help other people. And he showed me otherwise. And 3 Weeks to Forgiveness was born out of all of that.
So what do you think your life would look like if you hadn't gone through the 3 weeks of pain and grief?
Oh, goodness. I probably would still be stuck, quite honestly. I would probably still be stuck in these patterns that, I repeated as an adult child of an alcoholic. My dad, he was sober up until the time I was 15, and he started drinking again during that time. And from that point all the way up until, he died, I made a lot of bad choices as a result of, being around an alcoholic and the effects that has, and not really knowing what normal meant and what that was. And so I think if God had not brought Dad back into my life the way he did, and had me to help take care of him in his very weak state, of having cancer, and going through all of that, having even the closure that I was able to have with him, I think I would still be making those bad choices and repeating those same patterns.
Now, I understand that because I, too, come from an addictive alcoholic family background. And one thing I recognized was that children of alcoholics have problems with boundaries. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah, I had issues with boundaries with myself and boundaries with others too. boundaries with myself because I thought that I had to control everything because so much of my life had been out of control. I thought, okay, well, the only way that I can make things, I'm going to put air quotations that your listeners can't see, but the only way that I can have normalcy in my life is to, be in control. So I crossed all kinds of boundaries, there myself, and then also not having healthy boundaries, in my life. My husband now, he is a recovering alcoholic as well, and I didn't know how to place boundaries with him. And I wanted to do that in a biblical way after I rededicated my life to Christ again. And I was still struggling to try to figure that out. So the Lord helped me, through that. But yeah, boundaries is a huge issue.
And that's not easy to do, especially when people are used to you being available all the time and perhaps being more needy than necessary. I lost a lot of people around me when I said no. It's a very powerful two words.
Yes, it is. I've learned how to say no, and it wasn't easy at first, because you're right. I mean, I'm the oldest of two children, and being the oldest, I kind of had this self-imposed responsibility that I needed to take care of everybody else, and that like I said, I needed to be in control of everything, and I said yes to way too much, and so as a result of that, I also overloaded my plate and worked too much, and so there's just a lot that goes along with that, but no is a powerful word.
Did it affect you in ways of your health? I know for me, I contracted cervical cancer. What about you? Did you have any health issues?
I did have health issues. I didn't develop cancer myself, but I had other issues that were female related, and I don't know if that's a direct result of overdoing it or loading up my plate too much. Because I was afraid to say no, but it could have contributed to that. I know now that I have moved past that part of my life. I do feel physically 100% better than what I used to feel. Before I had a lot of depression. Depression was a huge part of my life, and so I guess, that could be considered, a health effect of that.
Yes, having a healthy life, creating boundaries, and also a positive direction in your life can make a big difference. So you talk about resisting God's love because you felt unworthy of love. Can you help us understand what you mean by that?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated. I know that, for example, when my dad, whenever he would get upset with me for some reason, he would shut me out. He would just give me the cold shoulder, the silent treatment, and that affected me deeply. Because I would try to talk to him and he would just ignore me, not even saying anything. And that was during the time that he was drinking. And he loved me very much. I know that now. But at the time it was very difficult for me to understand the reason why he was shutting me out like that. And so as a result of that, if I didn't, again, air quotations, hear from God, I thought, well, he must, be mad at me too, and he must not love me. I equated that silence with a lack of love. So in my warped teenage mind, and then even, into my adult years, that feeling of or having that silence develops a feeling of not being worthy of anyone's love. It's a very strange thing for me to say out loud when, whenever I think about that, but that's the way it is. I mean, I did not feel like I was worthy of anybody's love because I was disappointing.
Yes, you couldn't please him enough. You couldn't reach him so that he could respond to your caring.
Right.
As you reached out, and you felt like he shut you out.
Right, exactly.
And actually, it had nothing to do with you.
No, had nothing to do with me whatsoever. I mean, he had his own demons that he was dealing with. I mean, his addictions, consumed him, and that's what addiction does. It consumes the person, and it turns them into someone that they really are not. But as a result of that, the people around them don't understand, why they're treating them differently. So they naturally feel like they've done something wrong, but in fact, they have not. It's just the addiction and what it does to someone's personality, and it changes the heart of who they are.
Yes, and we have to understand that we don't need to walk around on eggshells and trying to be nice all the time, because really they can't hear you anyway.
No, they can't. That's another way of trying to control environment. We don't have control over someone else's choices. We don't have control over someone else's thoughts, responses. We only have control over our own. And so many people that are either living with an addicted person now or have grown up, in an addictive household, they feel like they have to control the environment in order for everyone to be at peace. And really, we're completely out of control whenever it comes to that.
Well, we're going to take a break right now, Kimberly, and we're going to have our sponsors come in, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Howdy, I'm John Cruder, the Midnight Marauder. I guess you might say that I'm a vigilante who rights the wrongs I see along my many travels to balance the scales of justice, especially those of the corrupt and murderous members of the Town Council of Bandera, Texas. You can follow my many adventures in a series of Midnight Marauder books written by Roy Clinton on Amazon.com and TopWesterns.com. Or, if you prefer, listen to my adventures in audiobook form by downloading them from Audible.com or iTunes. This is R. William James, the voice of the Midnight Marauder.
Texas Authors is proud to be a supporter of IndieBeacon.com, a website that supports indie authors from around the world. If you are looking for help with marketing or getting published, IndieBeacon.com can assist you. Years of experience by the founder is available to any indie author looking for help. IndieBeacon.com, a place for creative souls to find help in marketing their creations.
Remembrances from the Heart is a compilation book of heartfelt eulogies and poems that honor the deceased and comfort the living. Beautifully illustrated and spiritually written by Christian author Vicki Valen Johnson, who has created an artistry of words that will be healing for those suffering and inspiring to those listening, offering a sensitive message behind each passage. This cherished table book is available worldwide or at a Christian bookstore near you. For more information, please visit remembrancesfromtheheart.com.
Do you love to read great new ebooks? Visit EBG247.com. Be the first to discover the next bestseller. At EBG247, we have the web's largest selection of great new book reads, from that amazing new fiction or nonfiction to horror, romance, and fantasy. We even have today's best children's books. That's EBG247.com. New books arrive daily, and all ebooks start at just 99 cents. If you love to read, then you'll love EBG247.com. EBG247.com. Low prices, large selection, and an easy-to-use website. It's all only at EBG247.com.
Headlines. Cryptocurrency vultures are circling around failing governments. Darknet predators are rushing to market with their newest digital product. They promise economic salvation, even as they coupon clips straight from your digital wallet. The newest techno-thriller installment from Brakefield and Berkey, The Enigma Source. Book 10 of the Enigma series continues the combat of cyber good guys versus cyber thugs set in today's digital landscape. A new online bookstore, IndieLector.store, is unlike any other. IndieLector.store offers great prices from top indie authors and supports authors at the same time by paying them more for their books. IndieLector.store has a readers club that gives you free books and special deals. Watch the IndieLector.store continue to grow before it opens in the fall of 2019 at IndieLector.store. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
This is Grace Allison, and we have with us author Kimberley Dewberry. Some of the reviews we've had on Kimberley's book, 3 Weeks to Forgiveness, is Kimberley Dewberry is a master storyteller and powerfully shares the pain, turmoil, chaos, guilt, and confusion caused by this horrible disease. Kimberley writes with vulnerability and transparency her lifelong battle of being a child of an alcoholic and addict and how it impacts not only the victim but the entire family. You will laugh, cry, grieve, and celebrate with the author as you read this book. Kimberley, this sounds like a very powerful read.
Well, thank you.
Before we get into more of the book, let's let our listeners know how they can find you and how they can find your book. Why don't you spell your name for us, where they can find you on Twitter and Facebook, and the different sources for where they can find your book.
Sure. My name is spelled Kimberly, and then my last name is Dewberry, D-E-W-B as in boy, E-R-R-Y. You can find me on Twitter under Dewberry_author. You can find me on Facebook, Kimberley Dewberry Author, and then I also have a website dedicated to this ministry, and that is www.kimberleydewberry.com. And then 3 Weeks to Forgiveness can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and then also directly at my publisher's website, Electio Publishing, and that's ELECTIO publishing.com.
That's wonderful. We want to make sure everybody knows where they can find this book. Now, I know from experience that a lot of people are afraid to talk about alcoholism and addiction. There's a lot of shame involved in this, but there's a lot of healing. And I know that there was a point when you were writing this journal that you said, now, this has got to stop, and your life had to turn around. And where was that point?
Mm-hmm. Actually, that point was, I guess it was about a month after my dad had passed away. And I spent a lot of time in isolation in my grief, which is not a good place to be in. If you're grieving, please, see somebody, seek help. Don't go it alone. But I was spending a lot of time in isolation then, and a light bulb went off for me, and really it was through reading of some scripture that I knew that this was not how my life was supposed to be. At the time, my husband was still actively drinking, and like I said, I was miserable in my grief, and I just knew that this is not how my life was supposed to be, and I needed to do something about it. And that was whenever I made the decision to go and seek a Christian therapist, and I found a very good one, and she helped to guide me toward a recovery program myself. And so that's whenever I started I started out with Al-Anon, and Al-Anon is a great place to go. Al-Anon is a recovery group for family members and friends that are alcoholics. And after I was in Al-Anon for about a year, I decided that I really needed something that was more Christian-centered, and I found Regeneration, which is at Lake Point Church in Rockwall, Texas, and that's where I started going. And my husband and I both, and we're both there now, doing co-leading and helping with some other amazing people.
And I understand that you are now becoming a counselor yourself. Is that right?
Yes, I'm currently in school to be a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and I also do recovery coaching at Higher Hopes Counseling in Roy City.
Wow, that's really quite a lot. Plus, you have six children?
They're all grown. But
well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, they're all grown. Yeah, they're all grown, out of the house. I don't have to worry about them anymore. So, well, I still worry about them, but in a different way.
Yeah. Well, why don't you take a few minutes and read some of your book to us?
Sure, I would be glad to. So this part, at the end of each chapter, I have to set it up just a little bit. At the end of each chapter, I have a section that's called "Where Was God?" So in the chapter, I take the reader through different points of my life, and then in the section "Where Was God?" I show how God was moving even during the difficult, painful times in my life. So that's where I'm going to read from today. God created each of us in His image. Since we have been created in the image of God, we resemble Him, but do not have the ability to foresee the results of our choices. He gave us the gift of freedom to choose any path we wish. His desire is for us to choose Him. Let's say I'm walking on a safe pedestrian path parallel to a railroad track. I do not know when the train is going to come, but I move from the path beside the track and step up to walk down the middle of the track bed. As I'm walking, I begin to feel the vibration of the approaching train. My sense of feeling warns my brain I should move off the track, back to the path intended for me. But I ignore the risk. I continue to walk. The train draws closer, and I hear the horn blast and the sound of the wheels click-clacking against the steel track. My sense of hearing screams at my brain to move, but I ignore it and continue walking. Eventually, the train catches up to me, causing pain and destruction. My poor choices may result in my harm as well as that of others. This is an illustration of free will and Satan's attempt to destroy our lives. We are walking a safe path away from immediate danger, and then suddenly we decide to take a step directly in the midst of chaos. We may feel something in our hearts trying to tell us to get back on the right path, but we ignore it and keep moving. The rebellion I acted upon was exactly my choice to step on the tracks, but one God allowed. During that time in my life, every step I took, every direction I turned, I was walking down the twisting, turning railroad tracks. All the while, the train was racing up behind me, blowing its horn for me to change paths quickly. Why did I continue to step in front of the train, resisting the safe path and taking roads that were dangerous or risky? I resisted God's best for me because I thought I wasn't worthy of love from anyone, especially from God. The enemy's lies telling me I did not deserve real love pounded in my ears. Instead of rejecting those lies and turning toward the truth of God's word, I left a path of destruction behind me as I walked away from my first love. I left shattered dreams and broken hearts along the way. Is the train chasing you right now? Can you hear the horn blasting in your ear? Are you running down the middle of the tracks and not quite knowing how to jump to safety? You are not running alone.
Wow, that is really powerful. I would agree with you that it does sound like a train that's chasing you. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are waiting for someone else to rescue them from this. And that's just not possible.
No, it's not possible. It's up to us, and I said this before, and I think it's worth saying again. It's up to us to realize that these patterns that we are repeating and the negative choices that we're making that impact not only our life, but the lives of those around us and our family as well, that it's up to us to make the choice to talk about it, get it out in the open. There is some shame there. I think you mentioned that earlier, Grace, but there is no need for shame. There is only need for healing. And nothing will change if nothing ever changes. And it's so important to get help.
I agree. I want to thank you with being with us today, Kimberly. Her book, 3 Weeks to Forgiveness, God's Redemption in the Dark Places of Addiction, is available on Amazon. And her website, Electro Publishing. We want to thank you, Kimberly, for being with us, and good luck.
Thank you.
I am Grace-Allison Blair, an award-winning author, motivational speaker, and modern mystic. I have combined spiritual and psychological principles in my nonfiction self-help books under Grace-Allison and fiction books under Grace Blair. Go to modernmysticmedia.com to find Do You Have a Dream? 5 Keys to Realize Your Dream, and my novel, Einstein's Compass, a YA time traveler adventure.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
I am Grace-Allison Blair, an award-winning author, motivational speaker, and modern mystic. I have combined spiritual and psychological principles in my nonfiction self-help books under Grace-Allison and fiction books under Grace Blair. Go to modernmysticmedia.com to find Do You Have a Dream? 5 Keys to Realize Your Dream, and my novel, Einstein's Compass, a YA time traveler adventure.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at indiebeacon.com.